What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. It is week 25 of fantasy hockey. For you guys that are still in it, that have the schedule where week 25 is included, today we're going to be talking about all the usual stuff, the teams with the best and worst schedules, the streamers to help you maximize your games, and some new playoff updates. Lots of stuff to discuss, so let's dive right into it. Now, in terms of week 25 for Yahoo, it is April 7th to the end of the regular season, which is the 17th. Not sure how it is on ESPN or other platforms, but I'm going to be talking about the schedule in terms of that specific time frame, April 7th to April 17th. With that being said, as you guys can see on the left side of the screen, we have the off nights and the heavy nights. For that time frame, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Monday, Wednesday, Thursday of the next week are the off nights. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday are the heavy nights. In terms of the teams with the best schedule this week, how I define that is off nights and obviously opponent goals against average as well. Usually off nights is king, so that's what I have here. These teams with the best are the Oilers and the Sharks. 6 games and 5 off nights. 5 off nights is great. Decent opponent goals against average as well. But also, we have 4 teams that have 6 games and 4 off nights as well, which is also fantastic. The Flames, the Lightning, the Rangers, and the Wings. Unfortunately, the Rangers and the Wings have a pretty tough schedule, so there is a chance that some of those players underperform. Not a guarantee, but obviously that is a risk. Now, in terms of the other teams here, we have 2 teams that have 6 games and 3 off nights, those teams being the Kings and the Ducks. That is solid, but the Ducks have a terrible schedule this week in terms of opponent strength. Very tough for those players. And lastly, we do have the Canadians, who have 5 games and 3 off nights, which is pretty solid as well. I also want to mention the other teams with 6 games. Obviously, in terms of streaming, these teams right here, they don't really have a lot of off nights, so it's not the best. However, if you have some of the top players on these teams, that's going to be beneficial, right? Guys like Matthews that you're going to be slotting into every night that he plays on. So yeah, 6 games and 2 off nights here, the Carolina Hurricanes and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then 6 games and 1 off night, the Islanders, the Jackets, and the Sabres. Now let's talk about the teams with the least amount of games. The worst schedules are coming from the Avalanche and the Bruins because they only have 4 games, 0 off nights. The Avs have a pretty tough opponent goals against average as well. And then we also have the Blues, the Penguins, and the Wild. They have 2 off nights, which is okay, but only 4 games, right? Compared to some of these other teams that have 6 games, they're going to be at a disadvantage. So, yeah, these teams, not the most ideal situation to have a bunch of players from them. Now, I want to talk about the easiest and the hardest schedules. We're going to start with skaters here, then we're going to talk about goalies. For the skaters, these teams have an above 2.85 opponent goals against average. This means that these teams are playing teams this week that generally let in a lot of goals. So good news for those players. We have the Senators with the best. Then we have the Wild, the Devils, the Capitals, the Flyers, the Flames, the Islanders, and the Bruins. Obviously, the Wild only have 4 games. The Bruins only have 4 games. Not the best, but good for those top players like David Pastrnak. And then you have some teams with really good schedules here, like the Flames with 6 games and 4 off nights and having a good opponent goals against average as well. So definitely some solid options on this list. On the flip side, the hardest schedule for skaters are going to come from these teams right here. Teams with the below 2.70 opponent goals against average. These teams being the Ducks, the Kraken, the Red Wings, the Rangers, the Blues, the Avalanche, and the Predators. Very tough for some of these teams, especially the Blues, only 4 games. So that's, just another negative about their week. The Avalanche, like I said earlier. And even the Red Wings. Like the Red Wings have a great schedule, 6 games and 4 off nights, but it's another week where they have really tough opponents. So we'll see what happens, but obviously the players on these teams, they're going to be at risk of underperforming. Now let's quickly talk about goalies. The goalies with the easiest schedule this week are going to come from these teams right here. Teams with the below 2.90 opponent goals per game. These goalies come from the Wild, the Devils, the Flames, the Sharks, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Stars, the Oilers, the Bruins, and the Utah Hockey Club. Maybe a goalie like Philip Gustafsson could be a really good stream this week. Maybe Jacob Markstrom, maybe Destin Wolf, maybe Aiden Hill, maybe Karel Vejmelka, who seems to start every single game, 20th game in a row. As I'm recording this, he's playing tonight. So yeah, some decent options here. You might want to consider it when streaming goalies. And then on the flip side, the hardest schedule for goalies are going to come from these teams. The Red Wings, very tough for Talbot or whoever is getting the starts these days. Sabres, Panthers, Rangers, Leafs, Canes, Jackets, Blues, Lightning, Canucks, and the Capitals. You know, a goalie like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen or James Reimer, or even goalies like, you know, Sergei Bobrovsky and Igor Shesterkin, like they could struggle. Something to consider. Those are the teams. All right, guys, now let's talk about streamers for a bit. These are the teams with the most off nights. The players from these teams. The Oilers and the Sharks have 6 games and 5 off nights. The Oilers is really not the best streaming options. Maybe Hyman got dropped. He's always a good option, even though he's been disappointing this year. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is still a good option. And obviously, it depends on the situation with Draisaitl and McDavid in terms of the power play lines and deployment. Like right now, Arvidsson's on power play 1, so that's good news for him. But if those guys are back, he won't be power play 1, so you got to keep a pulse on that. And then with the other, you know, streamers here, Darnell Nurse, Jake Wallman, those are good options for those peripherals. But yeah, not the best streamers for the Oilers. And then with the Sharks, you have much better options, right? Celebrini, Toffoli, Eklund, Smith, Wenberg, Ferraro, who puts up elite blocks. Lots of guys with low roster percentage on the Sharks. So definitely worth a look. In terms of some other streamers, 6 games and 4 off-night streamers, they're going to come from the Flames, the Lightning, the Rangers, and the Wings. With the Flames, there's a ton of options. They have a really easy opponent schedule as well, so they could be very solid. Kadri, Huberdeau, Coleman, Frost, Farabee, Coronado, Pospisil for those hits, Anderson, Backlund, etc. The Lightning, not the best option. Sorelli, maybe. Bjorkstrand, who got taken off power play 1, but still. And then Paul, Radish, Gord, McDonough. Some peripheral guys, right? With the Rangers, it really depends on who's available. Miller's back on power play 1, I believe. Kreider's on power play 2, but still, you know, Miller, Trocheck, Zibanejad, Kreider, Koule, Schneider for those peripherals, Andre Miller for those peripherals. And then with the Wings here, obviously very top-heavy team as well. Larkin, Raymond, DeBrincat, Seider, Kane, and then you have peripheral guys like Edvinsson, Tarasenko, and Confer. You know, that's more of a deeper league stream, but yeah. Then we have 6 games and 3 off-night streamers. With the Kings, Kempe, Fiala, Kopitar, those are the usual suspects. Doughty, Kuzmenko is a solid option as well because he's on the top power play unit. He's getting good minutes, I believe. Then you have other guys like Fogle and Byfield, LaFerriere. They're solid. Deneau Moore, they're solid too, I guess. Not having the best years, but still. And then with the Ducks, you have a lot of options now. For Toronto, Carlson's been heating up. Leo Carlson, Jackson Lacombe has been such a surprise this year. McTavish, Terry, Gauthier, Trouba, Gudis for those peripherals, Kaloran, Strome. Lots of options on the Ducks. We have one final team here, the Canadians, 5 games and 3 off nights. Obviously, the usual suspects, Suzuki, Caulfield, Hudson, Slavkovsky could be more available, right? He has a low roster percentage. Line A is still solid. Then you have guys like Matheson and Gallagher. All right, lastly, I just want to highlight some power play updates for you guys. With the Avalanche, you have Drouin and Natchez out day-to-day. Not sure if they're questionable to play tonight. But as of now, they had Nelson and Charlie Coyle in power play 1 last game. I bet Natchez is back. Not sure about Drouin. We will see. I think we're supposed to get an update in like an hour as I'm recording this, so it's not going to be completely updated for you guys that watch this tomorrow or whatever. But yeah, that's the update for the Avalanche. With the Oilers, Arvidsson is power play 1 with McDavid out. Draisaitl is day-to-day, so we'll see what happens there. Obviously, the power play lines will change if those guys are back. Marchand is power play 1 with Barkov out day-to-day. Barkov is set to miss another game or so we'll see what happens there. With the Wild, they have Johansson, Gaudreau, and Nyquist on power play 1 right now. They're running a 5-forward power play. With the Predators, Evangelista is power play 1 with Jonathan Marchessault out day-to-day. Don't know how long Marchessault is going to be out, but Evangelista gets a bump there. With the Rangers, Kreider and Miller, they're sort of rotating power play 1 back and forth. Like they took Kreider off last game, but the game before that he was on it, so we'll see what happens there. With the Senators, Brady Tkachuk is still out, so Ridley Greig is power play 1. With the Pittsburgh Penguins, Kuvanen is power play 1 with Malkin out still day-to-day. With the St. Louis Blues, Holloway's out week to week, and looking at power play time in last game, it looked like significant time for Buchnevich, Tomic, Kyrou, Shen, and Falk. So that might be the new power play 1. We'll have to see, right? Because Holloway got injured during the game. So we don't really know what's going on in terms of those lines in practice and in game. A couple of more teams here. The Utah Hockey Club, Cooley's back to power play 1, Hayden up to power play 1. Obviously not great for Cooley owners. Hayden could be a good option in a deeper league. And then we have with the Vegas Golden Knights, Hannafin is still power play 1. That could change maybe as early as today. I believe Vegas is playing today, so keep an update on that, or keep an eye on that, I should say. And then William Karlsson is power play 1 still with Tomas Hertl out. Hertl is set to join practice soon, but I don't think he's going to be back maybe the week following this week. We will see. And then we also have with the Capitals, Chychrun seems to be getting more power play time based on what I looked at last game. Not sure if he's power play 1 just yet. And finally, Perfetti's been bumped up to power play 1, and Alex Iafallo has been bumped down to power play 2. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. I'm not talking about must-add players because at this point, you're just looking for streamers and maximizing your games. It's the final week for some of you. Some of you, it's over, right? You're probably not watching this video if you've already finished your fantasy season. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for the support. All the comments, all the likes, all the love that you guys show the channel. I put a lot of work into these videos, if you could tell with some of these slides, and trying to give you guys the best up-to-date information as possible, give you guys my takes. I learned a lot this year. A lot of mistakes I definitely have learned from, and I'm looking forward to continuing my fantasy hockey knowledge and giving you guys the best information possible. And what I do want to say as well, drafters, I'm doing these playoff best ball drafts and making a video. If you guys are interested in doing that, you can draft for the NHL playoffs, win up to $10,000 US. That's a #1 prize, but there's $50,000 in prizes. I might do some streams as well, and I'm going to be talking about that very soon. So very exciting stuff. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.